Hey guys, I'm sorry, I haven't actually done that many videos as of recent. You know, things have been a little bit quiet. I want to say things have been quiet. I've been pretty busy in terms of like work and doing stuff in the PLQ, that sort of thing, being away and sort of just getting back. We got Spitfire recorded last week. We covered a lot of stuff there, so I didn't really want to just come in and repeat myself. But I just wanted to make this video quickly because the Rostermania that has been going on currently, it's just a little one, a few different changes happening. I'm going to speak of the ones I sort of know about. Some are rumors, of course, some are confirmed. We'll go through the confirmed ones and then we'll talk about some of the rumors that some of you may well have heard and some that you probably haven't as well. But as said, it's at the point where we are in a bit of a mini Rostermania here due to the sub rule. Now, I feel as if the lock is at like 6 p.m. EST tonight, so that's like 11 p.m. GMT. Tonight has been Monday. This video will be up probably about an hour after the... No, sorry, that's not right. About a few hours before the roster lock is confirmed. So everything should be confirmed within the next couple of days, but I'm just letting you guys know what I feel like is going to happen, why some of the things are going to happen, why I agree, why I disagree with some of them. And yeah, we're just going to run through some of the first ones that we know about, of course. But first of all, before I do talk subs, I don't think a lot of these you want to put too much stock into. Like some of the guys, like teams who are at the very, very top, your E-Uniteds, your Splicers, your Optics, whoever they pick up isn't going to play that much. It's basically just, you know, an emergency for when potentially if something happens. If Scump's hands break, then they've at least got somebody to replace them. That's the sort of thing that this is for those sort of teams. But of course, some of the teams have made these changes because their teams aren't going great, and this is an opportunity to change one of those members, of course. As said, though, you can't pick up anybody that is currently in the league. So these are all coming from the teams who didn't make it through the PLQ, that sort of thing. And there's a big pool of good free agents. So a couple of these changes might not happen. A couple of them already probably have. But let's run through the ones that we do know, the ones that are currently public knowledge. GodRx has joined EG as a sub, which I think is a pretty decent pickup for them. He performed well from what I've seen at the PLQ. Nothing really to write home about. You know, he's a good player with a lot of potential, and he could potentially go on to do something for that team if things go south. Robbie P from Nation of Power has joined Accelerate as their sub. He put up a personal good performance, but Nation of Power didn't really set the world on fire. They got a couple of close games, but nothing really to write home about. But this guy seems to be the standout player from that roster, so he has joined Accelerate as their sub. Now, the only one that I'm sort of querying is that Happy has joined Splice from Orlando Reapers. Now, Orlando Reapers plays top 64 at Vegas, and that's the team with like Miracles. That's those guys. And he's joined Splice as a sub, which is one of the ones that I didn't really get. I can only imagine one of the reasons that they have went with him is that it could have been potentially a cheap one. You know, he doesn't really have any. I presume he didn't have any buyouts, that sort of thing. And you know, he may just be one of these players who gets along really well with the team, can offer something different. He's just a filler though, because Splice aren't really going to change their roster, are they? I mean, things are looking really good for them. I did hear a rumor that they were potentially picking up Attach, but that one obviously hasn't come to fruition. So I would have rather seen them do that. But then the thing is, you pick up Attach and it's an expensive one because you've got to get him out of his phase contract, which is always going to be difficult. But another thing I want to speak on about subs is that this could be just investments being made by these teams to say these guys potentially have potential and could maybe be picked up by teams in the future. If you lock them into contract, put buyouts on them, it's a money-making scheme for some of these teams if they aren't going to obviously use them. Got a new mic on, by the way. It's bloody brilliant. One of the Rode ones, fantastic. Although saying that, it does keep rising up because my mic's not that heavy. Anyway, we're going to get out of screen because I know you all want to look at my beautiful face. I need a shave. I do apologize. I look like a mess today. Anyway, let's get into the actual rumors then. Let's start with 100 Thieves because this one seems to be the most well-publicized one. There's a clip on Reddit of Pharaoh saying that he has been demoted down to sub. Now, I mean, you said this very quietly, but I'll be honest, I sort of heard that this was potentially happening. Pharaoh is one of these guys who... He's not somebody who's going to get along great with Slasher, and that seems to be well documented through Twitch clips, that sort of thing. We've seen time and time again that these guys aren't really getting along that well, and the team's not working. So it always seems to be the guy that isn't as well liked in this team, in a team that is going to get dropped because they feel... That's the thing. I mean, they've got plenty of talent on this roster that it should work, and if a personality issue is the problem, then if they go to change that, then things might start clicking. And I know a lot of people were sort of talking, saying, oh, well, you know, Kenny didn't play great at the PLQ, dropped like, it was 0.8 or something, or worse, 0.7. It was something not great. But I think the thing is with Kenny is that if you can get him happy and in a situation where you know he's going to be able to do the job that we've seen him do in World War II, then he is going to be a fantastic signing for 100 Thieves to keep a hold of. Now, another thing I do want to talk about is that, you know, they've probably invested a lot of money into a lot of these guys. I know they did invest a lot into Slasher. Kenny, I'm not too sure. I want to say his buyout was maybe a bit lower than a lot of people would expect. I'm sure it was. I've got a feeling that I've heard that TK didn't really have a big buyout behind it, but they've invested a decent amount of money into this guy, and they know he has the potential to be very, very good, so they're going to keep a hold of Kenny by the sounds of things, and it looks like the replacement for Pharaoh is going to be the hottest property on the free agent market, so to speak, that being Priester. Now, 100 Thieves picking up Priester is a good shout from me. I think he's one of these players who will slow into that team, and he comes across as a guy, because I don't really know him that well personally, that is going to be getting along with everybody on that team fairly easily. You know, he seems like a down-to-earth, really nice kid, and he will start on that team well, and he performed really well for FaZe. He was immediately the standout player as soon as that role switched towards a Sorg. And another thing that I think has really helped him get this sub spot, or the roster spot in the end, is that he's versatile. We've seen him already playing well with the AR at PLQ, and then he switched it up to an SMG after FaZe it wasn't working for them, and ultimately they got knocked out anyway. But he changed to an SMG and seemed to work in that role very, very nicely. So 100 Thieves' problem is SMGs, and they're bringing in Priester who can do a bit of everything, but SMGing is something that he was very, very good at. This may allow Kenny to move into his SMG role a little bit better, or we could see some more change-ups, but I like that from Priester. But one of the things I did want to say about 100 Thieves is that they are committed to try and keep Kenny and trying to work with him, because we know what he did last year. A lot of people are sort of undermining him, I feel, in this game, but I just think as if you look at it from a perspective of what he did last year, yes, okay, that was last year, but he has the potential to be championship winning player on this game, no doubt from my mind. Only other thing I could potentially see changing on Thieves in the future is we maybe could see one of the ARs be moved out for somebody a little bit quicker. I feel as if it's going to be Octane, if anybody, that would be moved out over Slasher. I just don't think Slasher is droppable in this team. I just think that Octane could potentially get moved on. Another thing that I do want to point out, and this was told to me last night on Spitfire, which is going to be coming on Wednesday, and it will be very much up and out there. And, you know, he said this on Spitfire, so I'm allowed to say it, but I'm not going to reveal who, because, I mean, well, to be fair, you'll know, right? It was rated. It was telling me and Bryce that G2 were asking for a lot of money for Decimate, and apparently 100 Thieves are one of the teams that didn't ask. I'm not going to tell you how much. You're going to have to find out on Spitfire, because Rated did specifically tell us how much they were asking for Decimate. But either way, G2 wanted a lot of money for this guy, and he seems to be somebody that a lot of people are looking at. Rightly so. He did play well himself at the PLQ, but obviously his team G2 not getting through. But I feel as if that is like another potential SMG pickup, which would then allow Kenny to go back to a Maddox, which is where he feels comfortable on this game. So 100 Thieves still up in the air for them, but it's looking like Pharaoh out or to the sub bench and Priester in to take his spot by the looks of things. As I said, that's one that a lot of people do sort of know about, but we'll find out how many people knew about it when this video goes live. Now, I want to talk about Red and their potential substitute that could be coming in. Scraps spoke about this on his stream. And yeah, I mean, this is where it's really coming from. It's looking as if Shox is going to be their sub. Now, this was a little bit of a surprise to a lot of people, and I know there was some inquiries into Red Reserve from some of the UK players that didn't make it to the Pro League, of course, but I feel as if this one is a pickup in terms of versatility, because Shox has a lot that he can do. He can SMG well, he can AR well, he gets along with all these guys on Red Reserve. It's a pickup that makes sense. He's been one of these players who, you know, the thing is with Shox as well, I know he's still going through college or university, whatever you call it, in your end of the world, but he's still going through university. He doesn't really want to commit to making the move, so I think this is an all right move for him. Red Reserve picking him up is good for Shox, and it sort of keeps Australia on the finger a little bit, because I know we don't have any Australian teams, but we've got Dens, we've got Shox potentially in the league, but he's just going to be there as a placeholder in that sub position, I feel, for Red Reserve. It's not going to be somebody who's going to take anybody's spot, but as I said, for those emergency situations, he's a very versatile player and could slot into any one of those roles that is needed by Red Reserve. And as I said, he gets along with everybody, so I think it makes sense. It's a good pickup from them. Now, let's move on to something that I don't think a lot of people would know about, but a lot of attention, well, you will know about this, but a lot of attention was given to Dylan at that PLQ. Dylan of Team Sween, of course. Played phenomenal with the Soak. Looked like one of the up-and-coming players that really a lot of people were talking about after their event, saying this guy needs to be picked up. Who's going to pick him up? And the rumor is that it's Reciprocity. Now, I think this is pretty much a masterstroke by Reciprocity. It's like there's no way they can lose, because for one, Dylan was not contracted to an organization. Team Sween didn't go for anybody. They thought they would qualify for the league. I thought they would as well. And then they were going to go in there and try and find an organization from them. So they would have basically got Dylan for free. I mean, I presume they'd be putting him on a contract with a salary, that sort of thing. But they've got him in. They've got somebody who can definitely jump into an SMG role at a high level. So if you're an SMG on Reciprocity, you have now got Dylan breathing down your neck. Now, I don't think for a second they're going to change it anytime soon, but if things start going badly in the Pro League, they have him to potentially step in. This is one of the subs where, as I said, I feel as if it's one of those placeholders where he will be there for emergencies only for now. But if things for Reciprocity don't pick up or go worse, because let's be honest, they haven't really set the world on fire as of yet, but they've looked fairly solid. They qualified automatically into the PLQ from a top 2 spot, so that's pretty decent. However, they haven't really sort of reached the heights I thought they would as of yet, but there's only been one event and the PLQ, so we'll judge them soon. But if the Pro League doesn't start going well and they got a tough group, then Dylan is somebody who will be breathing down the SMG's necks of Reciprocity. And I mean, I'm talking Dens and Zed. These guys have to be careful and they have to perform well, or you've got a player who is hungry and young and we know he can bring it to the table, sitting there ready to jump into the spot. But that said, I think it's a masterstroke by Reciprocity. You look at him being picked up. He wasn't contracted to anybody. You bring him in, you stick him on a contract, you stick an amazingly high buyout on this kid, because I really do think he is potentially going to be one of the best SMGs on the game at some point. When he gets in an established team, he will be very, very good. He'll be at the top of people's SMG lists. And if they keep a hold of him and use him as a sub continuously, great. But then if somebody says they want him, they've contracted him, they can stick a buyout on him, as said, and they can make a good amount of cash off him if they don't use him. But if they do use him, I feel as if he'll be able to fill one of those spots very, very nicely. I don't think they will make a change, and Rec, as said, are a pretty decent team, but if things start slipping, he is a player that you can definitely trust to make the step up, and I do believe he's a worthwhile investment as a young player for this Reciprocity lineup. Now let's talk about something else finally, just that a lot of you guys will probably know what happened because it was on Twitter, that sort of thing, but Zuma to Optic. I mean, this has potentially been happening for about a year now. We know that there was a lot of rumors of him being put on a big contract at FaZe because he was being asked by Optic, that sort of thing. And, you know, things have just never worked out. And it seems to be the case again that negotiations for Zuma to Optic has not worked out. Now, I presume this is because there's a big buyout on his contract. Why wouldn't there be if they've been paying him this much money? They want to keep a hold of the investment. But again, I think he's one of the players that would just be sitting on the bench for Optic. It's not like he's going to come in and replace Scump. It's just not going to happen. But again, he'll be there for an emergency if Optic did manage to pick him up, or do manage to pick him up, of course. But I think one of the reasons they probably looked towards him was the fact that Zuma's a great personality in the scene. We know his stream does pretty well, and I think bringing him into the Optic brand would be worthwhile for Optic as an investment. We know, as said, he's popular in the scene. He would fit the mold of the green wall, so to speak. So I think there was other ulterior motives behind bringing Zuma in, other than being a good player who could step up to the mark if needs be. But he'd be a good addition to the Optic streaming team, good for content. There's so many other good reasons why you would bring Zuma in. So it wouldn't surprise me if that does end up happening in the end. And then, of course, he is there to maybe pick up if things start going south, they can then invest in a good player who has plenty of experience to then step up. But it's all up in the air at the moment. As said, most of these are obviously rumors. Nothing is confirmed as of yet. As said, the roster lock is like tonight late on, like 7 p.m. I think it was 6 p.m. EST, so it's like, 11 p.m. over here at GMT. So keep an eye on that one. This video will be up in and around a few hours before that roster lock does come in. Thank you guys for watching. Leave a like and a comment below as well of who you think would be a good change. Do you think Priester to 100 Thieves potentially is a good one? Do you think Kenny still deserve to be dropped, even though I've made my case for him? Do you feel as if Decimate is potentially worth a lot of money? I mean, that'll be revealed on Spitfire how much they were asking for him. Do you think he could potentially go to another team? Do you think Shox coming into Red Reserve was a good addition? Dylan, should he be going somewhere straight onto a starting lineup? There's a lot of questions around what's going on right now, but this mini Rostermania will be over very, very shortly as soon as it started. It hasn't been enough time for it to really kick off, but this is sort of what I know so far. Keeping you guys up to date. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and we will see you for the next video.